Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening.
I always thought I was the creepiest, most awkward host to start a show. Thanks to Kamala Harris, I don't feel that way anymore. So creepy. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good evening, depending on where you are joining us or when you're watching this program. Welcome to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you for joining me on another episode. I want to say we got a good one, but I will warn you, it's also very creepy. So it's a creepy good one. And as you know, when it comes to the very good ones that are creepy and I need good laughter with, I always ask my good friend Michael Lauber to hop on and do this with me. Good evening, Michael. Hi, Michael.
Yeah. How's it going? Did Tim Walz just sniff Kamala's head back there? Is he taking over for Biden?
Yes. Well, here's what happened. Kamala's like, I can't go on. I need all the creepiness and all the weirdness. And Tim's like, oh, no worries. I got you covered. You laugh like a crazy person and repeat good evening line because they haven't put your teleprompter up yet, and I just sniff you. Michael, that's creepy. Seriously, that's a creepy scene.
Yeah, and it's pretty much what we expect from him now. It's the cackle and no substance, and then Tim Walz now trying to hide from all his stolen valor statements. Let's just call it that. But yeah, it's a joke. Like they're essentially just trying to run her on this hype. There's no substance, all hype and creepiness.
Yes, and here's the thing. I mean, as you know, I don't watch horror movies. Not because they're scary, because they just make no sense to me anymore. It's too much banshee screaming and stupid moves. I'm like, why would you go do that? Best way to deal with the scenario. But every time I see this clip, I feel this horror of, I know it's hideous. I know we laugh about it. But when we put all of that aside and look, it's like for a split second thinking of these two being in charge of this country, that is horror for me. How can anyone not be afraid of that moment?
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's the perfect match. It's the guy that hid under his bed while Minneapolis burned, and then the woman that helped bail out the rioters afterwards. It's a leftist dream team, but the media is trying to make it look like they're anything but that. Kamala is essentially running from her own record as VP. She's acting as if she is, just a candidate and has no power. She's making these promises to do things like implement Trump's elimination of tax on tips. She released their economic plan earlier this week, and that's an absolute disaster. It's an implementation of socialism. They want to price controls and everything else. And I mean, if you want to cause cascading business failures, like that's how you do it. It's a nightmare, but we have zero honesty in our media, and it isn't being covered in reality. Instead, it's just the endless hype train.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and so does my audience. I have my reservations about JD. I do.
Sure.
I'm not jumping to any conclusions yet. I'm praying that all we see is truth. However, I would say with JD, I could go with let's give the guy a chance because there isn't much. I mean, this guy is young. He's actually younger than me. He's young. He's new to this stage of politics, you know. So I can say, let me give him a chance. With either Kamala or Tim, there are years and years and years with Kamala, decade of speeches, policies, actions, reactions, videos. It's like a pile of evidence that it's kind of, well, could I say let's give him a chance? Of course, apparently 1/3 of the country right now thinks we should give him a chance. Half of that 1/3 thinks they're going to be amazing, but we all know every society has its own level of stupid. That
Yeah.
excluded from discussion. Evidence is on the table. There's I will fix everything when I get in the office. Well, Kamala, you're already in the office. How can one believe? And one of the things, me, you, with like-minded people here on Patriot TV, all of us as a Patriot TV family, we fight against wokeism, woke culture, PC culture. We believe in our freedoms. And one of the things that we're going to quickly go and actually listen to her own words, but Kamala has proven to be in love with wokeism. Let's hear her own words on wokeism, and then let's me and you talk about her love for wokeism.
We have to stay woke. Like everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
Stay more woke than less woke. I mean, Michael, does that really need translation?
No, and this is the thing. Like in the cackling, it's just so off-putting and creepy. Like I don't know if that's just like she doesn't know what to say, or she's embarrassed, or she's got whatever the medical condition the Joker has, and she just can't stop laughing. But all her policy positions should be evident. She's spoken about her, her love for wokeism, her love for socialism, that we need equity, not equality, numerous times, but it gets no attention. Instead, it's just the flash, it's the flare, it's the celebrity endorsements, it's the rappers she pays to show up at her events so they can somewhat pack the house. They're not there to see Kamala. We saw everybody going out the door in Atlanta when they tried to pull that one down there. The minute she gets to the stage, people move for the exits. They're all there to see the entertainment she brought in. It's an entirely fictitious campaign. It's a fairy tale. And they're hoping that, like you said, that 1/3 of the country or more will believe the fairy tale and vote for essentially hope and change again. Hope that things will get better and they'll change the direction our country's headed right now. Because if it stays on its present course, we won't be a country in 4 years.
Very true. And that's the thing. From the over and over and over, there's a very popular video running around. We don't need to play it ourselves. Equality versus equity, the wokeism, catch and release. She's okay apparently with anyone, including the Boston Marathon bomber, to vote. You look at all of that. One of the things for people like me and you, Michael, who are familiar with Marxism, socialism, Maoism, Islamism, it's the same trade. They found a better name for it, which is wokeism. You need to be more woke, but the policy behind it, the agenda behind it, and the actions and reactions behind it all comes back to what is very dangerous towards human society, especially American society, because let's face it, I don't know if this is a compliment or not, but Americans are the most spoiled people on the world.
Yes.
And that's thanks to our Constitution. So woke, the word translates into Marxist, which again, she has what? So does Tim. They got direct ties to Marxism. So,
oh yeah,
go ahead.
Well, yeah, Tim Walz again, perfect example. Reducing sentences, letting people out after the George Floyd riots. He implemented policy to allow and encourage the transing of kids. This has been a major policy issue for him during his tenure as governor of Minnesota. He thinks it's okay to hide things from parents at schools if the teachers are trying to convince them to transition. He's all for this stuff. It's all about wokeism. And again, it sort of does fit the theme too of having no concrete policies. Wokeism can be whatever you imagine it to be. It's for the less hardcore people in the leftist camp, it's this elusive equal rights. It's protections for gays and lesbians. But in reality, like what they actually mean is much more radical than that. Therefore, Tim Walz is for policies, abortion up to the point of birth, maybe beyond. They've let, I don't know if it was 7 or 8 infants die on the table now during botched abortions where the child was born alive in Minnesota. We've already talked about his policy with schools, putting tampons in the boys' bathroom. These are just hints of the policy that they want, but it is much more radical than that. It's punishing success. It's taking from one group to give to another more favored victim group. It's leaving the border. Kamala has stated she doesn't want to just leave the borders open. She thinks that all illegal aliens deserve free health care, that the U.S. taxpayers should fund the medical care they need while they're here invading our country. It's pure insanity when you examine any of this piece by piece, but that's not what we're hearing in the media. Instead, it's this whitewashed, watered down version that she's somehow the savior and Trump is, Hitler and Satan combined together reincarnate.
Exactly. And talk about, the whole funding the healthcare of illegals. There has been many reports for many years, and coming from a third world country myself, from Iran and then 3 years of Turkey, not every country treats disease and vaccination and health the same. Some of these illegals who are pouring into our borders, or Europe, doesn't matter, especially Middle Easterns, they bring diseases that should not enter the country. It shouldn't. And we, as you said, brush over it, and we just pretend like it doesn't exist. And again, I'm sure a lot of people out there, including myself, are like, heard it all, so what? But that's the problem. There is so much lies and propaganda and twisted truth being spread every day that me and you, Michael, we have to sound like a broken record, play the same video over and over, remind people the same thing over and over, over and over, over and over. This is what Kamala did. This is what Tim did. We talk about Minnesota, both their reactions. And I actually told you a few days ago that now I'm starting to think we might be facing the summer of jihad instead of summer of love. Ties to, their not love necessarily, but their support of Islamization, from Hamas to Iran to pro-Palestinians, all of that, their hatred for Israel and anti-Semitism, both Tim and Kamala, be specific names. Actually, let's take a look. She tried to talk in Michigan. And it became a challenge, and I have a lot to say about that challenge, but let's take a look at how the challenge came to and how she reacted, so I can prove the point of she's not anti-terrorist. Let's take a look at it.
Tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Back a story. Huge group of pro-Palestinians chanting, "We won't vote for genocide. We will not vote for genocide," from river to the sea. This is what is being chanted when she reacts to. If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking. How do you translate that, Michael?
Well, she's they're playing a very delicate game right now, trying to balance the Hamas faction of the Democrat Party versus the majority of the Jewish vote that votes for Democrats. She's playing a very dangerous game. But if you look at, again, her record or Tim Walz, Tim Walz has done everything he can to ensure that little Somalia there in the Twin Cities flourishes, and we get reps like Ilhan Omar. He's done plenty of things to cultivate more of that and protect the Islamic wing of the DNC up there. It literally is. It's the red-green movement in action, and you're seeing it there in Minnesota. But Kamala's no better. She her own daughter's been part of this pro-Hamas protest on college campuses. She's spoken out, against the Jewish people's right to self-protection and defense. But on the campaign trail, she wants to shut them up because the majority of the Democrat Party does not want to wipe Israel off the map. However, there is a faction, I've heard different numbers, but we'll just pretend it's around 20% because that seems to be consistent, that is extremely anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, and very anti-Christian for that matter, too. It's all coming from the hatred's all coming from the same place. And she's trying to balance her public image with what she really wants to do. I mean, that's my big takeaway from it.
And I agree, and I will add this. We all know there are plenty of self-hating Jews in America who are Democrats, and they keep voting for people like Kamala. But if Kamala is forced to say, listen, I will not support Israel and I will support Hamas, she's going to lose those voters. So let's not bring this topic up. Let me talk and lie as much as I can. When we take power, then we hope wipe Israel off the map. For now, she needs all the self-hating Jews, Democrat Jews, to vote for her. We are up for our first sponsor break. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, well, plenty more to say, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. And, talk about voting. I'm a huge believer in voting with your money as well. Vote with your money. Support companies and businesses that are actually in the right business, doing it for the right reason, and they're not censoring people. So both of the sponsors we heard from, great companies. Put your money where it's needed. I mean, we all have cell phone, right? So switch over. And it doesn't even cost you anything extra, right? You're just going from one either neutral or woke company to a patriotic cell phone company. We're not even asking you to spend extra money. On the second case, I would say that spend a little bit of extra cash, go to mypillow.com, use promo code AC, that is abbreviation of my name, or yes, initials, AC. See, I'm that cool. I'm AC. AC21. AC21. You get up to 60% discount, and I will receive credit from your purchase. And Michael, I am cool, aren't I?
That's right. That's right. That's why it's AC21. Also, if you want to support Patriot TV, you can go to patriot.tv/live up to freedom. Become a member. Join there. Less than $10 a month. That's the way we can keep bringing you programs like this and everything else Patriot TV has to offer. For less than the cost of a extra value meal at McDonald's, you can support great patriots over here that bring you the content the mainstream media doesn't want you to see.
I appreciate that. Yes. We do need your help. No war has ever been fought for free. It takes budgeting. So we left fairly quickly on the cliff edge of, needing the Jewish vote. And, I feel like the first segment was pretty horrifying and sad and not so great news. But we got good news, Michael. Two of the squad members are squashed.
Yes.
Bye-bye. We got Jamal Bowman and Corey Bush. Bye-bye. Gone. How you feeling about that?
Oh, I love it, especially after watching Corey Bush's meltdown. No, this is perfect. They cut the squad basically in half. You got rid of the principal that doesn't understand fire alarms, that tried to interrupt an official proceeding, or disrupt official proceeding, I should say. But of course, no real charges for him, no jail time, nothing like that. That'd be too harsh. And obviously he's an elected representative. He's above the law. So, and he's in the right party. But no, I mean, this is, I think, two big hits to the leftist wing of the Democrat Party. Not to say there aren't plenty of others left, but this is what happens too when you run somebody on a national campaign that doesn't represent the local area, their constituents. Eventually, those people, they're tired of all the showboating, the radical messages, and everything else being attributed to them. So eventually they just can't pull the votes out, especially when you have this pro-Hamas wing of the Democrat Party. And, that's really what did, and especially both really, Jamal Bowman and Corey Bush, was the anti-Israel Hamas wing of the Democrat Party took them down. These, they were... I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. Basically, they were touting their message. They were wanting defunding Israel. They wanted, Bibi Netanyahu in jail, and enough of their voters aren't down with that, and they just didn't turn out at the polls. So this is what happens when you support radicals.
Bingo. And actually, since you brought it up, in a minute or two, we will actually take a look at the meltdown of Corey Bush, but you see, that was exactly my point back to the end of last segment. When you are that open about your agenda of anti-Israel, anti-Semitism, pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, this is what happens. Now, I do want to say this because I actually had questions sent to me. Let me get sidetracked for 1 second since I said questions. Yes, I may not necessarily, especially because I have to do this and I don't like doing that, I don't necessarily look at all of the comments right as we're on air, but I always go back and check them. I check my email, liveuptofreedom@gmail.com. I check the comments. I check messages. So when you have questions, you can send them in. I may not answer them right there and then on air, but I will bring them up when I come back on air. That being said, I was asked, well, if that applies, how come Ilhan Omar won the primary? Well, here's why. You need to realize there is a huge difference between avoiding racism than avoiding a radical. Ilhan Omar has played same thing with Rashida, but Ilhan herself has played the racist card too many times for liberals and Democrats to ever dare not voting for her. Now, I don't want to get too far from Cori Bush, but Michael, you said something about questions about the results of Ilhan anyway. So give us that information. So there seemed to be maybe possibly there was a chance that she didn't win.
Well, that's what some of them are saying, because the way the results came in was very unusual. I believe the race ended, it might have been 8 p.m., but 9 p.m., I think, was the time that all the votes had to be in there in Minnesota. And again, I apologize if I have the time wrong. But once the polling had ended, they waited hours to report any results back. And like normally, you'll see the first 4 or 5% trickle in almost immediately. Then maybe there's a little bit of a delay. Then things start coming in faster. But instead, in her case, it was I think 95% of the vote came in all at once, hours later. So there was no trickling of votes from other counties or precincts as things were reported. It was instead reported basically in just a giant block. Ilhan's the winner. And it's very suspicious, especially because she was in a close race. I mean, I don't think she was going to lose. She has a very loyal group of her fellow Somalians, since she is Somalia first, as she stated. And like you said, there's also a lot of guilty white liberals that will vote for her no matter what, because she has the triple victim card. She's an immigrant, she's a woman, and she's Islamic. So that's a trifecta. And no matter what rhetoric you hear, nothing can overcome that. If you are a leftist, you have to vote for the triple victim card. It's in the rules. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm just here to report them. But
you know what, Michael, in my life, especially in the last 10 years of my life, I'll tell you what, that doesn't apply to liberals only. I have worked with white male, American white male conservatives who have given to the white guilt, who have bent over backward to please non-white people, who allowed the brainwash to get to them too. I just want to be fair and say this is not just about white liberals. I have seen this happen on a normal basis of daily basis, to work relation, to friendship, marriage, all the way to voting, to the white conservative man as well. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, you're exactly right, too. There's pandering that goes on our side, too. And there are people, too, that are, overcome with this fictitious idea of guilt, that somehow they're responsible for the rest of the world and what happens everywhere, and, everything's their fault. But by and large, I don't think there's as many people that fall for it on the political right. I want people to rise and fall by their own merits, what they contribute. But there's definitely a cult on the left that will vote for somebody just because of what boxes they check, because it makes them feel good about themselves. And I don't know if it's this white savior complex or just the years and years of propaganda that have got to them. But yeah, at the end of the day, that and the little Somalia, I think, are what let Ilhan Omar keep her seat, whereas Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman just didn't have quite that same constituency. And then the controversy too with both of them within their district not voicing their own people's concerns or supporting the issues that are important to their own district. And Ilhan Omar, I do think it was a combination of the white guilt and little Somalia that kept her in office.
And well, let's not forget all the funding that is poured into her campaign by lobbyists of Islamic countries and Islamic nations here in America. But I don't want to miss it. Let's take a look at Cori Bush's meltdown. It's just fun to watch every single time.
Pulling me away from my position as Congresswoman. All you did was take some of the strings off. Let's be clear. 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 Let's talk about what it really is. Because see, now I don't have to worry about some strings that I have attached, and as much as I love my job. But all they did was radicalize me, and so now they need to be afraid. See, now they about to see this other Corey, this other side, because let me say this. I just grew up a whole lot more over the last few weeks. Just grew up a whole different way. And so what they are about to get, they think. So the thing is this. The thing is this. I don't think that anything, there is nothing that happens in my life that happens in vain. So if this happened, it's because it was meant to happen. And let me say, it's because there's the work that I need to do. And let me say this. AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
I am coming to tear your kingdom down. Ouch. Ouch. I gotta give it to her though, Michael. First of all, I don't know. I can watch this over and over, and yes, I do laugh because I think it's ridiculously over dramatically written script. But you gotta give her, she's got the attitude. If I didn't know, I would think like she was Queen Elizabeth, who was just decrowned. You didn't get the votes. It's Congress. I mean, chill.
Yeah, she's a true believer. She's a real radical, and she's going to be a big thorn in their side going forward. They're going to try to silence her every way they can. But how much money you want to bet next week when the DNC's in town in Chicago? You know, they've already got 100,000 pro-Hamas radicals up there. How much you want to bet Cori Bush is going to be out there leading the charge while they're causing chaos and burning down Chicago? But
She admitted. They radicalized me with this move. And by the way, I have a question. Who's they? Wasn't it that she didn't get enough vote? Like, was she making these threats toward American citizens? Because that's how I took it. They are the American people who voted. So they radicalized her and they took her away from her job and they removed those strings. Is that the they she keeps referring to?
You know, I'm not quite sure who the they is she keeps referring to, but I mean, it can be interpreted in a lot of ways. She did directly target AIPAC. So is she talking about the Jewish members of Congress? Is she buy into these other Jewish conspiracies? Is that what it is? You know, another thing I kind of noticed there was this distinct lack of diversity in the crowd that was behind her.
Don't be racist.
So, yeah, sorry, I can't help it. But, you know, we hear this message constantly, but is that why? Is because she's only pandering to one group of her constituency, and then the rest of them, she's just become too radical. They don't want to listen. They don't want to hear it because they know she's just a moonbat. But yeah, she's going to be a big thorn in their side, especially if she's continues to have a platform and a voice. I think that's going to be one of the big priorities. The minute she's out of office, shut her up one way or another. Especially because they're already dealing with a very fragile situation. It is trying to hold this constituency together and drag enough votes across the finish line for Kamala Harris. And I just don't think they can do it.
Well, let me ask you this. Has she received a visit from FBI or has she been put on a watch list at TSA? I doubt she did, but shouldn't she?
No. They're too busy trying to arrange the next Governor Whitmer kidnapping, or, you know, they've got people like Tulsi Gabbard speaking out that they've got to put on the Quad S list. That's for those of you who don't know, that's the TSA list. That's where they give you the full cavity search every time you fly. So yeah, she isn't that type of radical. She's not on their radar. She's the right type of radical, at least for now.
Yeah, but when if any, let me think of a few names: Tulsi Gabbard, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman Boebert, any of these ladies would get on a stage and say, anybody, AIPAC, ASAC, ATAC, anyone, I am coming to tear your kingdom down. Immediately, they would get a visit. immediately there would be questions. Immediately they would be plastered all over the place and any possible platform with radical, right-wing, far-right, nationalist, racist, bigoted person. This. And I know I take the long, sarcastic way to get to it, but aren't you tired of these double standards? The two-tier justice?
Well, if the left and the Uniparty didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. I mean, so again, like but you do make the perfect point. Like pretend Anna Paulina Luna had said something like this about AIPAC. Headlines for the next week would be that she was anti-Semitic and needed to be thrown out of Congress. Saying Cori Bush, if she were in a different political party, if she were a Republican and made exactly the same statement, she would be, forget finishing her term, she would be out of Congress by Monday. They would vote to expel, just like they did with George Santos. So any deviation from the norm on the right, you're castigated, you're thrown out. On the left, it's okay to say whatever you want, no matter how radical it is, as long as they somehow think it's going to help their agenda or help them win. Because really, like, their only goal is power. They don't really have standards. They don't care when she says something like this, but let it be somebody on the right, let it be Lauren Boebert or whoever else, and somebody's kingdom will come crashing down, but it won't be AIPAC's.
And here's the thing, it's it's proven fact. Marjorie Taylor Greene was removed from her committee for a tweet she put out years before, that she actually acknowledged that was a misinformation, that she didn't tweet it herself. She retweeted it from somebody else's page, and it was not right information, and it wasn't even anti-Semitic, if you ask me. But it happened. She was removed immediately from the committee. But again, what do I know, right? I'm just some right-wing, radical, white nationalist, Islamophobe bigot who is going to ask her audience to stay with us while we take our last sponsor break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Years ago, when I invented my pillow, I was faced with every adversity you could think of. No retailers wanted to sell my pillow. That's come full circle. Vendors took advantage of me, and I was copied by China. Well, by the grace of God, I was able to get through all that and learn from it. I have a passion to help other U.S. entrepreneurs, and that's why I created my new platform, mystore.com. We have hundreds of products from amazing entrepreneurs, and to celebrate, I'm going to put my pillows on mystore.com right now. You can get my standard My Pillows regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. Or you can get my standard queen size regular $79.98, now only $29.98. Or you can get my premium king size regularly $89.98, now only $34.98. So go to mystore.com and use that promo code on your screen to get huge discounts on all my store products. Thank you and God bless.
Former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn pleaded guilty today to lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military. Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand signed by General Michael Flynn. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store, a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. So until this segment, we talked about probably things you probably heard other places of conservative Christian alternative medias by other podcasters, broadcasters, and patriots. This last segment, me and Michael are going to dive into things that I'm almost sure you have not heard anywhere else, unless you're like me, bilingual, researching other platforms. But before we do dive in, this time I'll do the thing. It takes a lot of time for both of us, but mainly for me because I have to go find them, then deal with the PTSD part of it, and then do the translation and then send them to Michael and the producers and all that. So it does take a lot of time to do these segments. I will ask you to support my program right here on Patriot TV as well as Patriot TV by going to patriot.tv/live up to freedom. You will go to a page that has all my information, including 3 different levels of membership. So you can become a member monthly, annually, or 2 years. And that way I can continue doing these, I would say, exclusive segments where the information is either very hard to find or nowhere to be found. Perfect. So here's a question for you, Michael. Have you, before we talked, have you heard anywhere of our wonderful planet of cyberspace and all that? Did anybody talk about after Ismail Haniyeh was killed in Tehran on the inauguration of Iran's president? Did you hear anybody come and say, well, what happened after that? Or did that just kind of disappear into the other news?
Gone into the ether, never brought up again. I think I saw 1 or 2 stories day of, just reporting that it happened, but zero coverage afterwards.
Yeah. And you know, again, I understand with our side of aisle, it's hard. There aren't too many of us who are, familiar with the language of the Middle East or different languages. But it's just so amazing. It's like, yay, and good job. Don't get me wrong. I still ask the question of if you did it, if you knew, if you had the information, you went as far as doing it as by you, I mean, the Israeli government, for love of all things, peace, you could have just done it about 6.5 hours earlier when the inauguration was taking place. You could have taken out the supreme leader of Iran, the president, and Haniyeh all together. But again, I'm sure there's more politics to it than I'm putting efforts to understand. Point is, this all happened, and all we heard on our side, Michael, was like, yay, another terrorist down, victory, 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 victory. Well, I would like to take a moment and introduce all of our audience to the new Haniyeh. Let's go meet him, and then we'll talk about him. I would like you to meet the replacement of Ismail Haniyeh, Yahya Sinwar, Palestinian Hamas long-term soldier, now in charge of policy and politics. Before I go any further into his bio, his existence, Michael, I'll let you, no disrespect here, as an American, just watching a few seconds of a person, how do you feel about him? What are the things that popped out on you on this few seconds of video?
Honestly, the first thing is just his eyes, that darkness, like soullessness in his eyes. And I saw both when he was handing that, I assume his son, the AK-74. And then just the way he was looking in that second kind of clip, like looking over the crowd, just this soullessness, very dark. It's scary. And this is somebody that doesn't value human life. And then given his background and his role, I mean, again, I would expect them to escalate things very quickly, and it looks like this is going to be the person to do it.
Yes. On the second scene, those little kids in front of him, or the first scene, it's not actually his son. It's one of the kids on the crowd. So many questions right there. Why are these babies? They're babies. They're not even kids yet. They're babies. He's a toddler. Why are you waving an assault weapon in front of this kid? Those are all whatever. But here, Michael, I'll tell you exactly. I will give you one very highlight of Yahya's career of recent actions. Yahya was the brain behind the operation of October 7, 2023. Of
course he was.
The entire day. And this was his reward. He had no other qualification for this position because of planning and pulling it off. On October 7, 2023, he got this promotion.
So this guy's responsible for thousands of deaths. And again, he's rewarded for it. They attacked innocent civilians. They flew into a concert and hit unsuspecting teenagers, 20-somethings. They went door to door with these kibbutz, killed children that were trying to hide. This guy's a monster. No, hopefully the IDF and Israel smoke this fool fast before he can do any more damage. But yeah, you can see it. You can see it in his eyes. This is a soulless monster. And he's been given more power and more control to enact more terrorism to the Israeli people. And I'm also sure, now that this promotion, who's to say he won't be planning of similar attacks or just other attacks in general at other places around the world. I'm waiting for more of that to kick off, especially in the UK and France right now, given what's going on there.
Agreed. And because we are kind of quickly getting through our time, I'm going to say one more thing about Yahya, and we will touch on him. And of course, I'll be following every move he makes with more updates. But I agree with you. I hope somebody do something, because the very first move he made was collaboration with IRGC. They are now building another proxy group in Jordan. So Israeli government is already aware of this movement happening, but please hurry up. And I understand after Yahya, there will be hundreds of other Yahyas and Soleimanis to be replaced. But, well, that's why I say go for the head of the snake. Take out Iran's IRGC and we should be fine. But now I want to touch on something else. This one, actually, I appreciate the fact that it was close to you and you worked so hard with me during the uprising of Mahsa Amini in 2022, when a young woman was killed, Mahsa Amini, for lack of hijab or proper hijab. And Michael, again, as you know, the Western media went quiet. Everything is good. Life is back to normal. I have a video clip for us to take a look at, as for those who think Mahsa Amini was the first and the last, and that Iran stopped picking on women's hijab and stopped harming them. Let's take a look at this video. There we go. So, do I even need to say anything, Michael?
And it's just covered up. Nobody talks about it here. It's never addressed, the oppression of women across the entire Islamic world. Every country that lives under Sharia, you have endless oppression. I mean, it's more evident with the women, but it's the truth of the men too. Everybody is forced to live a certain lifestyle, whether they choose to or not. It's all about control. It's oppression, and it comes at them from all sides. It's the political system, the personal life, the religious system on top of it. And the fact that, again, we allow this to go on and we continue to trade, support these countries is unbelievable. But yeah, it's sad. It's pathetic. And the fact that Mahsa Amini lost her life for this, if the U.S. would have just done something to support the protesters in Iran, we probably would not be dealing with this same monster over there we have been for decades. There could be freedom.
I'm going to make this for a minute about me. A long time ago, years ago, when I talked about how I was dragged by my hair and put in a morality police van, dragged into detention center, I remember a lot of Americans said, "Oh, honey, that was a long time ago. Iran has modernized, yada, 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 yada." Did you just watch how 4 adult women dragged a teenager after beating her, dragged her by her arm and hair? No. What happened to me 20 some years ago is exactly what happened to this teenage girl a week ago. And this is what's going to continue happening to girls and women in Islamic countries as long as Michael said, we just keep funding them. Michael, you know what is the most mind-boggling thing of when people tell me, I can't believe you support the orange man bad. During President Trump's presidency, and again, you know I don't agree with everything he does. I shouldn't. I don't need to. But during the 4 years of President Trump presidency, not only the terror attacks across Middle East and Europe and America was down, also the attacks on Iranian citizens. They wouldn't even dare create any kind of uprising inside Iran because they knew President Trump's going to back him up, unlike Obama during the Green Movement and unlike Biden during Massa Amini uprising. That's the thing. When I say we need President Trump, part of it is my own desire for these girls to have for them not to have to go hide behind a little box that's giving them no protection to try to get away from the morality police, get away with that because they don't have a hijab on. I'm sorry if I'm screaming. It's just frustrating when people don't get it. They're humans.
Well, it's the truth too. And the frustrating element too is people ignore it here. And instead they pretend Islam is something different than the reality that it is. That they pretend, oh yeah, I know a Muslim guy that runs the whatever store down the street. He's nice. And he probably is, but he's also Americanized. He's not practicing the same thing that they are in the Middle East, or chances are that if he were going to go back to Iran or wherever, he would be killed. But they deserve to live their own life, not to live in fear, not to be watching out for the morality police vans that get drug off, beaten, raped, or even worse, stoned to death because they decided not to wear the hijab, because they wanted to make a choice about their wardrobe. It's not like they're not running around in bikinis or doing anything else that would upset the moral balance there. They just don't want to wear a hijab. They want to live a normal life, be a normal teenager, and that's denied to them. But again, we pretend this isn't the reality. It doesn't get reported. And you're right, too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
You're right about President Trump. President Trump sent a message of strength. And he also knew that if there were to be, mass riots and an uprising in Iran again, that's when we leverage our strength. We push those people across the finish line, take out the dictators, end the largest funder of terrorism across the Middle East, and you make the whole world a better place. Maybe it doesn't solve the problem entirely in one fell swoop, but it gives us a huge advantage to make the world a freer, safer place for millions and millions of people across the Middle East and across the rest of the world.
Amen. And talk about that, it wasn't just Iran. It was many Middle Eastern countries, including, Afghanistan, the very first disaster of Middle Eastern move right before going back to Iran negotiation was Biden literally silver platter, hand over the country to Taliban. And on that note, there has been so much tragedy since then. But as we are in the month of August, and as you know, Michael, I like to try my best to remember those who have lost their lives in oppression and hands of Islam and Muslim leaders. Let's take a few minutes and watch a video as we remember a very, very brave young woman who lost her life to Taliban, but she never gave up on her God-given rights.
Hura Sadat, a young, vibrant YouTuber, took to the streets to mark International Women's Day.
امروز میفهمین چی روزی است؟ چی روزی است؟ روز زن است امروز. زن دارین؟ چند تا؟
یک تا.
This video of her teasing the Taliban soldier went viral, showcasing a moment of unexpected levity under a regime known for its oppression. Hura Sadat's YouTube activities showcased a fearless young woman who dared to live seemingly freely under the Taliban rule. Her popularity surged, but so did the danger. 16 months later, the laughter had faded. Hura and her sisters were arrested by the Taliban on fabricated charges of moral corruption. Released after a month of detention, Hura died days later in August 2023.
Moral corruption, whatever that means. Michael, I'm gonna point this out. Hura Sadat was born after we supposedly liberated Afghanistan from Taliban. She got to grow up in somewhat freedom, YouTuber. Then we took away what we promised America and handed over to Taliban. Good for her. I'm sorry she's not with us anymore, but good for her for not bowing to the evil oppression of Islam. We should all learn from her, right? Right here in America. But you know what? I will say this, Michael. I am disappointed and I am sorry as an American that we destroyed a full generation of Afghan women and men by doing the evil that we did under Biden regime in Afghanistan. I'll let you finish up your last thoughts on this topic before we say goodbye to our audience.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They had freedom and hope dangled in front of them, and it was all taken away. And a lot of this is because of the botched withdrawal. And again, I think this goes back to had the withdrawal gone the way that Trump wanted, peacefully, and the Afghan government was still in charge, maybe the Taliban would have taken over eventually. But I think they also would have been afraid to act. Otherwise, we would have gone back in and just smoked these fools again. But when you let people down, when you ignore our obligation to them, this is what happens. And then this poor woman, you know, she seemed happy to begin with, just lost her life. The happiness was sucked out of her. And instead, the country is now in total chaos and oppression again. It's sad. It's pathetic.
Agreed. We are absolutely 100% out of time. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end of this program. Stay safe, stay vigilant. Michael will be back with me again and again and again. So go follow him on X, Real Mike Lauer, and tune into his show, The Insurrection, Saturdays and Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Patriot TV. May God bless you. May God bless America. Goodbye.